Hello, I am Steve Johnson. I'm an AARP volunteer and will be your host today. Some of you might be asking, why is AARP engaged in this? Well, some of you might know the roots of AARP began more than 70 years ago when its founder, retired school administrator, Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus, discovered one of her former teachers living in a chicken coop. Dr. Andrews was appalled that a woman who worked her whole life couldn't even afford a place to live. She initially founded National Retired Teachers Association in 1947 to assist retired teachers. In 1958, she founded the American Association of Retired People to protect the financial security of older Americans over the age of 55. In 1999, the name changed from American Association of Retired People to just AARP to protect anyone over the age of 50, retired or not. The core mission of ensuring the financial stability of older Americans remains a part of AARP's core mission. Fighting identity theft and fraud is a part of that core mission. So, let's get started. During our session, please place your phone and all electronic devices on silence or vibrate. Ask questions, but be sure to share the air with others. Please keep your comments short so everyone who wants to speak has a chance. If I don't know the answer to your question, please write it down with your contact information, and someone will get back to you. This clip comes to us through the courtesy of NPR's Marketplace. It comes from a series on research on how the aging brain may become more susceptible to financial scams.
I've just spent a year exploring the twilight world of older people targeted by scammers. Now, here's what drew me in something small. My father in law is in his mid 80s. And when we visit, his phone is ringing just about every 10 minutes or so with someone trying to pick his pocket one way or another, from subscriptions and refinancing that he doesn't need to full on lying fraudsters. Well, it turns out that one ringing phone was just the tip of a massive problem. By one estimate, people 65 and older get defrauded out of $37 billion a year. Now, Americans of all ages and all tax brackets are targeted by fraudsters, yet older people tend to lose more money and have less time to recover their financial footing. There are a lot of things at work here. People 65 and older hold an enormous amount of the household wealth in America, and scammers know that's where the money is. Many older people live alone, a risk factor in itself. But here's what really floored me. Researchers who study this say that changes in the brain, as part of the normal healthy aging process, might be making many seniors into softer targets for scammers. Now, I've spent a year talking to experts, including medical researchers, and met concerned families across the country, and scam victims, like Judy. That is $166,000 in department store gift cards she was coerced to buy and turn over to a scammer.
I was nervous, but at that point I was under his spell. He said, do it, I did it. He could have told me to stand on my head in the middle of the street and I probably would have done it. I can't imagine what I was thinking. I was like a robot.
We're looking into this topic in our special series, Brains and Losses, the bottom line on aging and financial vulnerability. You can check out the whole series and find resources on this topic at marketplace.org.
Con artists steal billions from Americans like us every year. Seniors are a high priority. Vigilance against scammers is our #1 weapon. To help you protect yourself and your loved ones, today we're going to look at 4 things. What is the threat to seniors? Why are seniors a target? What is the cost to the nation and to Iowans? How do scammers work? How do we get introduced to scammers? How do they get us to act against our own best interests? How to protect yourself. How not to participate with the scammer. Proactive steps to take to prevent being scammed. Available resources. We will provide you with some resources that you can utilize to protect yourself, such as AARP, the government, and local financial institutions. When Willie Sutton, the famous bank robber of the 20s and 30s, was asked why did he rob banks, he quipped, "Because that's where the money is." Over 110 million folks, 1/3 of the U.S. population, are over the age of 50, and they control 83% of this nation's wealth. 54% of that group are women. Military people call this a target-rich environment, and that is the way scammers view this population, as potential targets. You are where the money is and where the opportunity exists. The Federal Trade Commission collects self-reported data on scams from consumers and then places that data in 29 different categories. The top 3 scams and fraud in the U.S. were identity theft, imposter scams, and credit bureau information furnishers and report users, making up 48% of all scams and frauds reported. Younger people, those 20 to 29, reported losing money to fraud more often than older people, those 70 to 79. However, the median loss of $1,000 was higher for older people compared to only $548 median loss for younger people. Those over 80 had a median loss of close to $1,700. We will spend some time talking through each of these categories. The top 4 frauds and scams reported to the Federal Trade Commission in 2022 for Iowa fell into these categories. Imposter scams. Someone contacts you and claims to be someone they are not as a means to get you to send money or give up personal information. Identity theft is when someone steals your personal information like your name, social security number, and bank account information and uses it to commit fraud or other crimes. Online shopping and product reviews. These tend to take the form of undisclosed costs, failure to deliver on time, non-delivery, refusal to honor warranties or guarantees, internet auctions, businesses trying to prevent posting of honest reviews of products or services. Credit bureau, information furnishers, and report users. Here, the credit reporting agency or the furnisher provides inaccurate information or fails to reinvestigate disputed information. Let's talk first about imposter scams. They involve criminals impersonating someone to coerce targets into giving them money. These criminals impersonate federal government workers, sheriffs, tech support workers, even our family and friends. The Federal Trade Commission reports that Americans lost $2.3 billion to imposter scams in 2021. We know that scams and frauds are underreported, so the losses are likely much higher. Why do you think scams and fraud are underreported? Most people are embarrassed that they fell for a scam. There is no reason to feel embarrassed. There are two types of people in the world: those that have been victim of a scam and those that will be a victim of a scam. The primary approach typically starts with a robocall or a live call. In a robocall, the recipient is warned of a bad situation that they must call back to address immediately. Again, an imposter scam is when someone contacts you pretending to be someone they are not. The IRS, Social Security, or Medicare will never call you. These are the most typical ways imposters attempt to dupe us. There is the sweetheart scam. If you are seeking companionship on a dating or a romance website, be aware of the fake profiles that are appearing there. Often the fake postings are accompanied by stock photos that can easily be found on the internet. You can use your computer to look up photos to see all the places where they appear. Some dating websites exist only for the purpose of harvesting the data that unsuspecting users put into their profiles. Try to use only the most reputable websites. The IRS scam. The caller pretends to be a government agent who tells you that you owe back taxes. The caller may threaten you with an arrest warrant or a lawsuit. Of course, you can avoid all the problems just by paying them off with gift cards you are told to purchase at a local store and give the numbers to the caller. Jury duty. Here, the caller poses as a court officer who tells you that you've missed your jury duty and that the judge has issued a bench warrant for your arrest. The police are moments from arriving at your door, but you can get them called off by paying the fine over the phone with gift cards. Social Security. Here, someone calls pretending to be from the Social Security office. Their intent is to get you to give up key information. They attempt to tell you there's a problem with your account or with your account has been associated with fraudulent activity. Of course, you can remedy this problem with gift cards. What is identity theft? Identity theft is when someone steals your personal information, like your name, social security number, and bank account information. Identity theft becomes identity fraud when a criminal uses that information to steal money. Identity fraud can include opening credit accounts in your name and racking up thousands of dollars of debt. It can mean a scammer draining your bank account or applying for government benefits in your name. Identity fraud can also involve filing bogus tax returns. By a show of hands, how many of you know someone who has had their identity stolen? It's not surprising. Identity theft is a multi-billion-dollar industry. U.S. consumers and financial institutions lost $16.9 billion to identity fraud in 2019 alone. That's up over 15% from 2018. So, how is one's identity stolen? Items containing key personal information can be stolen from your mailbox, either outgoing or incoming. Through the use of skimmers, these devices are placed on public credit card readers that copy your information and transmit it to the scammer. Shimmers are placed inside the gas pump where you cannot see them. Calls from someone pretending to be a debt collection agency, attempting to frighten you into giving the scammers your credit card information or other personal information. Through the use of public Wi-Fi, scammers monitor public Wi-Fi and copy your credentials as you surf the web or look at bank or credit card accounts. This can happen on any unsecure Wi-Fi network. Job offers and dating websites. These sites that appear to offer jobs or dating opportunities but actually exist only for the purpose of collecting your information when you create an account. Contests and lotteries. Bogus contests that collect your information when you register, or contests that you have allegedly won but want you to pay a fee to collect your winnings. If you didn't enter, you can't be a winner. The question is, how do scammers get the information they need in order to conduct the scam? We give it to them. Data aggregation companies are constantly collecting and selling data about you and your family. Because the state of Vermont recently adopted a statute that requires companies that do business in their state to disclose the data that they collect on their customers, we now have some insight into the scope of this practice. There's a company named Axion that you may have never heard of. Its only business is to collect data and then sell that data to marketing firms that want to sell to you. Axion collects information on 10,000 attributes for each of the 2.6 billion people worldwide. You cannot escape from them. This kind of data is one reason why we continue to get all those robocalls. Want to know what free data exists about you? Just Google yourself or look up your name on the U.S. phone book site. This is just the data people can get for free. Here I have highlighted some of the data that's readily available to almost anyone. Age, relationships, home type, properties, date of birth, all of this is readily available to anyone just by going to the internet. And what of this data does the scammer want? They want to know all of these things about. So the question is, how do data merchants get this information? Phishing is the use of unsolicited email to trick you into providing your personal information or allowing malware to be installed on your computer. Smishing is somewhat the same process, except it's using SMS text messages to do the same thing. Here is an example of an email message from someone in my contact list. You can always look at an email address to determine if it is legit. In this particular case, you see at emu.edu.tr. TR is the country code for Turkey. My friend does not live in Turkey. The other thing about this message, it's meant to grab my attention. Obviously, picks 4 and 7 would ring a bell. Well, if I'm curious, all I need to do is click on this link, and we're off to the races. Here is a recent smishing text message that I received. Do you see anything wrong with this message from the U.S. Post Office? Realize that just anyone can make up a hypertext URL and give it the appearance of being legit, such as HTTPS, indicating that it is a secure site. Realize just because it is hypertext, it does not mean it is legit. Anyone can create a link that looks like a real URL. The URL for the post office is usps.com, not .gov, or in this case, .name. This is a made-up link to cause you nothing but trouble. This is a smishing message my wife received. What do you notice about this text? It's meant to grab the attention of the reader, requiring the reader to take action. In this particular case, it says there's a transaction that needs to be verified, and there's an amount of money. If you don't recognize it, click on this link. So, one of the first things I notice about it is it's $534.9818. In the US, we only go to 2 decimal places. The other thing about this message, you'll notice it's from Wells Fargo. Okay? Wells Fargo is quite a bit different than Wells Fargo. The thing that you can do when you get a message like this, block the email and at the same time delete the message. Do not click on any of the links. I've spent a lot of time on these three methods because according to the Federal Trade Commission, they were the primary means of contact in 2022. While these methods, email, text, and phone, were the primary means of contact, 61% they were responsible for only 36% of the losses. Interestingly, online ads or pop-ups amounted to 3% of the contacts, but 63% of the monetary losses. A Navy retired veteran lost $3.6 million after responding to a phishing email. Over a period of 6 months, he used international wire transfers to send money to various addresses in Thailand. One of our Fraud Watch educators came up with this simple approach to protect yourself from telephone scams and text messages. Don't answer, don't respond, don't click. What is the secret to scamming people? When authorities ask convicted con artists to describe the trick to scamming people out of their money, they all say the same thing: get them under the ether. So what is ether? Ether is a heightened emotional state that makes it hard to think clearly and make rational decisions. I'm sure you can remember the last time you went to the dentist or the doctor and they performed a procedure in which they put you under some kind of medication and warned you once the procedure was over not to drive for 24 hours or make any critical decisions. Here's how one artist described it. I wanted to keep the victim up in the altitude of the ether, because once they dropped into the valley of logic, I've lost them. So, how do you get to the point where you're not thinking clearly? You're excited, for example, you've won, or you have fear of missing out on something. You're anxious, could be a love interest. You're fearful, you have a relative in trouble, or you have a potential loss of use for things like your computer, electricity, or privileges. All of those things can get you up into the ether. Here are some ways that come straight out of the con artist's playbook to make us vulnerable. Such things as phantom riches, scarcity, source credibility, fear, and intimidation. Let's take a closer look at each of these. Here are some ways that scammers create those kinds of emotion that make us vulnerable. Phantom riches are something you want but are just out of reach. These claims of wealth are designed to get you into the ether, to get you so aroused by the prospect of these huge returns, think Bernie Madoff, that you can't think of anything else, and your logical reasoning goes out the window. Researchers say this is the #1 tactic found in undercover audio tapes of scammer pitches. For example, a check for $232,000. I've been looking for you for over a year. That would get most people excited. And the grand prize is $50,000 in cold hard cash. I could use $50,000 in cold hard cash. Your logic is slowly leaving you. The Iowa lottery up to $500 million. If you join our club, you'll have 4,800 tickets. That's 4,800 chances to win. All of this designed to get you up into the ether where your logic is suspended. How many of you have seen going out of business sales that seem to last forever, or one day only sales that happen every other week? Scarcity sells because it taps into our evolutionary fear of running out of food and water. When you think there's a limited supply of something, you rush to get it. So the con artists will try to paint a picture that what they have to offer is rare or available only for a limited time. Here's how the scammer used the scarcity tactic. Only 4 left. So you need to make a decision soon or you're going to miss out. The old FOMO, fear of missing out. You were one of only 17 people to win the grand prize. There are only 24 hours left before this offer expires. All of that meant to get you excited and fear of losing out. Con artists often try to build credibility by using a well-known celebrity, appearing successful, or claiming affiliation with a reputable organization, or touting a special credential or experience. The IRS is perhaps the government agency most mimicked in fraudulent attempts to get your personal information. Another very common scam is for the con artist to claim to be from Microsoft or Norton in an attempt to gain access to your computer. Recently in the news, there was a gentleman that is going to jail for essentially Bitcoin scams. How he was able to do it, I do not know, but he had several well-known celebrities touting the value of his particular offering in Bitcoin. This is a short survey I'd like for you to take. It's not a test, it's just a survey. I'd like you to take a piece of paper and number from 1 to 5. What I want you to do for each question, answer yes or no to the first thing that comes to your mind. And the first question: in the past 12 months, have you sent away for any free promotional material in response to a TV, radio, internet, or newspaper ad? Yes or no? In the past 12 months, have you entered your name in a drawing to win a free prize, gift, or trip? In the past 12 months, have you attended a business opportunity or investment seminar that offered a free meal or other incentive to listen to a presentation? In the past 12 months, have you opened and read most of the mail you receive, including advertisements? In the past 12 months, have you done business with a company or an individual without asking for references and personally checking those references. Similar people who answered 3 or more of these questions with a yes answer have been vulnerable to fraud. Let's look at why and how to protect yourself. Social scientists are learning that fraud vulnerability may be less about how smart you are and more about behavioral factors, such as how often you expose yourself to the marketplace, or psychological factors such as how easily you get excited or whether you tend to make snap decisions based on emotion, hot brain versus cold brain. Exposure to sales situations. Victims of fraud expose themselves to sales situations more than the general public. This can be by doing things such as opening junk mail, answering unknown phone numbers, or a conversation with strangers requesting or soliciting personal information. Susceptibility to persuasion. You show more interest in persuasive statements used by con artists. Think about the ones we just talked about. Phantom riches, source credibility, scarcity. Con artists prey on the trusting nature of people. Think Iowans. Myself, I am susceptible to anything that has data. If you can show that 80% of the people did this, or there's a 95% chance of achieving a particular objective, you can pretty well suck me in on those. Lack of prevention. This again is a behavioral thing. Victims take fewer steps to actively prevent fraud. They're less likely to sign up for do not call, or check references, or regularly change or have complex passwords. Impulsiveness. Those who are impulsive, driven by emotion, excitable, anxious, fearful, or are non-reflective are particularly susceptible to con artists. Fraudsters and scammers often stress the need for fast action to avoid missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime investment opportunity. Victims tend to be more impulsive, quick to act on limited information than the general public. Remember, the con artist wants their victim in the ether. Finally, age. Victims tend to be older, with the average between 54 and 69. Think back to the video clip we saw on brains and losses. This is also the age that has con artists looking for disposable wealth. People over the age of 50 hold 83% of the wealth in the United States. Con artists know that that is where the money is. It is with seniors. Let's talk some prevention strategies. Protect your Social Security number and your personal information. Don't carry your Social Security card in your wallet. Don't print your Social Security number or driver's license on your checks. Shred sensitive information such as bank statements, credit card statements. Limit the number of credit cards you carry. Keep copies of credit cards, front and back, in a safe place in case the card is lost or stolen. Get the ability to freeze your credit cards remotely. Talk with your credit card issuer and they can walk you through the process. Monitor your bills and financial accounts. Watch for missing bills and review your monthly statements carefully. Contact your creditors if a bill doesn't arrive when expected or includes charges you don't recognize. Use the U.S. Postal Service Informed Delivery. That makes it possible for you to know when specific items are coming in your mail and if those items are missing. Watch your credit reports. You're entitled to one free credit report each year from each of the nationwide credit bureaus. To get your free report, just simply go to annualcreditreport.com. Freeze your credit. It is free, it is indefinite, and can be easily removed if needed. A fraud alert is similar, however, it only lasts for 1 year. Protect personal identification, PINs and passwords. Don't carry your PINs and passwords in your wallet or purse. Avoid using easily available information for your PINs or passwords, such as your mother's maiden name, birth dates, your social security number or phone number, or a series of consecutive numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4. Choose a different PIN for each account. Use a password manager or encrypt the list on your computer. Protect yourself online. Be aware of emails that claim to come from a bank, internet service provider, business, or charity that asks you to confirm your personal information or account number. Avoid contacting personal or financial businesses on shared public computers or over public wireless hotspots. Install the latest version of established antivirus software on your computer. Make sure websites are secure, especially when shopping online. A secure website will begin with HTTPS, not the usual HTTP. Some will display a lock icon. Protect your mail. Use the Do Not Call register. Place outgoing mail into a locked mailbox, such as a blue postal service box. Better yet, where you have checks or sensitive data, take that information directly inside the post office. Don't leave incoming mail sitting in an unlocked mailbox. Cut down on junk mail by contacting the Direct Marketing Association at dmachoice.org. If you're going out of town, use the USPS Whole Mail Service. It's free. They will deliver your whole mail directly to you. Here's my ultimate prevention strategy. I call it Q-tip. The original version of this was created by Al Perales from the Iowa Attorney General's office. He called the acronym just TIP: Threat, Immediacy, and Payment. I modified it after a friend of mine was caught in a scam. He said by the time you get to TIP, you may already be in the ether. Let me walk you through Q-tip. Question: unsolicited contact. Unsolicited simply means that you did not initiate the contact. Think back to the fraud vulnerability survey we took earlier. Most were unsolicited contacts. The first vulnerability was exposure to sales situations. Even when we initiate the contact, ask yourself, what prompted me to call? Was it an unsolicited contact by email, phone call, or text? In these circumstances, your first question should be, why me, Lord? Why am I being given this opportunity? So, where do these unsolicited contacts come from? General mail flyers that you get. Door-to-door contacts. Somebody wandering through the neighborhood saying, hey, I'm in the neighborhood and you have the ability to get an additional discount if you act today. Computer pop-ups. You didn't initiate it, it just popped up. Text or emails, such as we saw earlier. All of these are unsolicited contacts that you should question. So, what is a threat? Think of a threat as something that will get you to reduce your ability to think clearly and put you into the ether. Free to reach into your pocket and steal your money. Free while you say, well, how is that a threat? It immediately gets you to the point where you may not be thinking clearly. Potential loss of money or freedom. Your bank account has been hacked. I can help you. You or a relative is going to be arrested. We can prevent that. Okay. Remember the phantom riches? You are a prize winner. All that is needed is your account number to transfer the first payment of $10,000. Source credibility. I'm with the IRS, Microsoft, Haiti Hurricane Relief, AT&T. All of these are things that will immediately get your attention and put you into the ether. Now that the threat has been established, the scammer needs something to create or indicate a sense of urgency. What are some ways? Only 3 left. What makes us more anxious than scarcity? Think Amazon or QVC. This is the last one that'll be sold today at this price. Sale ends in whatever, today, this week, something again that is intended to get you to a point where you need to take action, creating that sense of urgency. An arrest warrant has been issued. They are on the way. Again, you need to act. You need to do something quickly. The IRS will issue a lien. No one wants to be in a place where they're going to lose their house or their car or whatever. A sense of urgency. That's what immediacy means. Payment. Think about any payment that is unusual or out of the norm. Any of these would present no way for you to recall or stop that payment. A debit card. Using a debit card is the same as cash money. Once it is withdrawn, there's no way to get it back or stop the transaction. Wire transfer. Similar to a debit card. Once the money goes out the door, it is gone. It's a one-way street. Gift card. No legitimate agency, IRS, the court system, established companies, will ask for gift cards as a form of payment. Gift cards have the same recall or stopping ability as debit cards. Cryptocurrency, completely unregulated by any agency. There's no way to get your money back when you pay with cryptocurrency. Cash, would you hand over an envelope full of cash to a stranger? Cash, once the transaction is complete, it is a done deal. They are gone. One of the things that I recommend is think about naming a trusted agent with your financial institution. By having a trusted agent, if the financial institutions suspect that you are being scammed, they can call your trusted agent just to confirm that the payment that you are about to make is legitimate. A trusted agent is not a power of attorney. They can't exercise control over your money. It is just a stopgap for the financial institution to check and see if you are operating under the ether. This slide is an overview of a handout which you will take home. It just summarizes another way to think about Q-tip. Question the unsolicited. This goes to our prime vulnerability, exposure to sales situations. Question any unsolicited contact, regardless of how it is made. Mail, email, door-to-door sales, or a text message. Listen for the threat. The threat can be phantom riches, loss of money or access, loss of freedom to self or loved ones. Number 3, are you being pressured to act immediately? Not contact anyone, stay on the phone, stay by your computer? Number 4, be concerned with how you are being asked to pay. Would you normally pay any other obligation the way you are being asked to pay this particular one? Would your financial institution, government agency, or legitimate business asked to be paid this way? Vigilance is your most potent weapon against being scammed. Being scammed has nothing to do with the education level, the income level, or where you live. It has everything to do with knowing you are vulnerable. When opportunity knocks, I like to peek out the window before I open the door. Here are some ways to be vigilant. Sign up for the Do Not Call register. Use the USPS informed delivery. Freeze your credit report. Use a trusted agent at your financial institutions. Keep in mind Q-tip. I put the Q in parentheses because I consider it your initial barrier. Just as we saw in our survey questions, the foot in the door is the initial contact. We've discussed a lot of things. I don't want to make you paranoid about scams. I do want you to be vigilant. You have a copy of the Watchdog Handbook. Most people attend the seminar will go home and not read it, but I want to point out some key things. For example, on the title page, it describes the basic purpose of the handbook, common elements of today's scams. I also urge you to read the introduction page. Knowing these common elements makes it easier to spot and avoid scams. Throughout my presentation, I've mentioned different resources, phone numbers, addresses, and links to these resources. These resources are available in pages 13 through 17. Please avail yourself of these resources. Here are some additional ones available in other handout material. The FTC handout on fraud alert and credit freeze, the how to avoid scam, which we just talked about earlier, and the informed delivery sign up brochure from the post office. The AARP Fraud Watch Network is a free go-to resource for everyone, whether you're an AARP member or not. On the Fraud Watch Network, you'll find free information and proven resources, up-to-date information on the latest scams. As criminals develop new ways to target victims, we'll provide you warnings and critical information so you can always be on your guard. There's the scam tracking map. See what the latest fraud alerts in your state are, and hear stories from scam spotters who are sharing their experiences so you'll know how to protect yourself and your family. It is a one-stop resource for getting help. Find out what to do if you or someone you know has been victimized. By becoming a part of the AARP Fraud Watch Network, you can pass this information along to others who might need it as well. You have the Watchdog Alert Handbook. Inside on page 18, you will find this contact information. Please keep these resources handy in case you ever need them or to help a friend. I want to repeat an important statement here about being a victim of fraud. Everyone is vulnerable to being a fraud victim. It does not discriminate based on age, education level, common sense, or lack thereof. People are often afraid to admit to being a victim or to report it because they are embarrassed. It is like older adults fearing their kids will take their car keys after an accident. But in this case, they fear not being allowed to manage their finances. If you want to hear some stories, Google brains and losses. This will take you to a website where you will hear from real victims. Here is my bonus slide. The next time you are signing into a new website and you are presented with a terms and conditions page, which we all just click and agree to, pause for a moment and scroll through to look at what the site says about the use of your data. I think you will be surprised about what you agree to as to how they can use your personal data. Additionally, I'm going to pass out my business card. I have a dual purpose in doing so. If you would like to become a fraud watch educator, please contact me or AARP at the numbers listed. Second, I have attached a Q-tip as a reminder of how to keep from becoming a victim of fraud. Now we'll take a few questions that you may have.